The day everything changed began like any other aboard the U.S. Horizon. Dr. Sam Collins stood at his workstation in the research lab, carefully logging specimen data when the alarm blared through the ship. 20 years into their deep space mission, the crew had grown accustomed to false alarms and equipment malfunctions, but something about this alert felt different. All senior staff to the bridge immediately. Captain Grace Miller's voice commanded over the intercom. Sam hurried through the corridors, his heart racing as he joined the others gathering around the main view screen. There, floating against the backdrop of stars, was an object clearly not of human origin. "We detected it entering our sensor range 30 minutes ago," explained Nicole Ward, the ship's chief science officer. "It appears to be some kind of escape pod, and there are life signs inside." Captain Miller studied the pod's unusual design, organic curves that seemed to flow like liquid rather than the rigid lines of human engineering. "Bring it aboard," she ordered after a moment's hesitation. "Maximum containment protocols." The retrieval team worked with practiced efficiency, securing the alien craft in the ship's quarantine bay. Sam joined the first response team, his specialized background in xenobiology making him essential for this encounter. When the pod's seamless surface finally parted, revealing its occupant, a collective gasp echoed through the bay. The being inside was unlike anything humans had imagined. Its skin had a translucent quality that shifted between deep blue and violet, with patterns of light pulsing beneath the surface. 4 primary arms and 2 smaller appendages moved with fluid grace as the creature struggled to sit up. "It's injured," Sam observed, noting the darker patches on its torso that seemed to be leaking the luminescent fluid. Dr. Emma Reeves, the ship's medical officer, stepped forward cautiously. "We need to stabilize it, but I have no idea where to begin with its physiology." The alien's eyes, 3 iridescent orbs arranged in a triangle, focused on the humans. It made a series of melodic sounds that rose and fell like music. "The universal translator can't process the language," Communications Officer Ben Lawson reported. "Nothing in our databases matches it." Despite the language barrier, the alien's intentions became clear when it slowly extended one of its upper limbs, palm facing upward in what seemed to be a universal gesture of peace. Sam approached carefully and mirrored the gesture. The alien gently touched Sam's hand, and an immediate tingling sensation spread up his arm. To everyone's amazement, the ship's computer screen suddenly displayed unfamiliar symbols that rapidly transformed into English text. "Temporary neural interface established." The message read, "I am Cell from the Lumidary civilization. My vessel was damaged escaping the destruction of my world. I seek sanctuary." Over the next few days, the crew worked to help Cell recover while learning more about this extraordinary visitor. The alien's ability to create direct neural interfaces revolutionized their communication, allowing for perfect understanding despite their vastly different biologies. "My people evolved beyond physical technology thousands of years ago," Cell explained during one session. "We learned to manipulate energy and matter through biological means." Captain Miller approached these revelations with caution. "While we welcome you aboard our ship, you understand we must verify your claims and intentions." Zell's skin pulsed with patterns that the crew had begun to recognize as expressing acceptance. "Your caution is wise. In your position, my people would do the same." As Sam studied Excel, he noticed something remarkable. The alien was adapting to the ship's environment at an astonishing rate, modifying its own biology to process oxygen more efficiently and adjust to Earth normal gravity. "Your species has great potential," Cell told Sam during their 3rd day of interaction. "You rely on external tools, but the real advancement lies within your own biology. My presence here may accelerate changes already beginning in your kind." None of the humans understood what Cell meant by these cryptic words, not yet. But as Earth received their transmissions about first contact, humanity stood at the threshold of a transformation that would redefine what it meant to be human. 2 weeks after Zell's arrival on the U.S. Horizon, the ship buzzed with a new energy. Crew members found excuses to pass by the medical bay where the alien was recovering, hoping for a glimpse of their extraordinary visitor. Sam Collins spent most of his waking hours with Cell, fascinated by everything about the alien. He noticed that the neural interface they shared was becoming stronger each day, allowing them to communicate with increasing clarity. "Your method of speech is inefficient," Zell observed one morning as Sam entered the medical bay. So much meaning lost in the translation from thought to sound. "Not all of us can establish neural links," Sam reminded the alien with a smile. Zell's skin rippled with blue patterns that Sam had learned indicated amusement. "Not yet." Dr. Emma Reeves monitored these interactions carefully, noting changes in Sam's brain activity. "Your neural patterns show increased connectivity in regions that were previously dormant," she told him during a routine scan. "Whatever Cell is doing to facilitate communication is physically altering your brain." Captain Miller called an emergency meeting when she received Emma's report. "Are these changes dangerous?" she asked, concern evident in her voice. "Not dangerous," Emma explained, "but definitely significant. Sam's brain is developing new neural pathways, similar to what might happen if someone learned a new language or skill, but at an accelerated rate." Ben Lawson, who had also spent considerable time with the alien working on language translation, raised his hand. "I've experienced something similar. Last night, I knew what Excel was going to say before the words appeared on the screen." Nickel Ward leaned forward with interest. "Are you suggesting telepathic communication?" "Not exactly telepathy," Ben clarified. "More like understanding at a deeper level than words can express." Captain Miller turned to the ship's security chief. "Ryan, what's your assessment of the threat level?" Ryan Garcia had maintained a cautious position since Cell's arrival. "The alien hasn't shown any hostile intent, but these neurological changes concern me. We don't know the long-term effects." The meeting was interrupted when Sam suddenly clutched his head and gasped. Images flooded his mind. A beautiful world with crystal spires, beings like Cell moving through liquid-like architecture, and then terrible destruction as massive machines tore through their cities. "Cell is trying to show us something," Sam said urgently. "The fall of the Luminary civilization. We need to get to the medical bay now." They found Cell in distress, the lights under its skin flashing in chaotic patterns. The alien had connected itself to the ship's computer system, transferring massive amounts of data. "What are you doing?" Captain Miller demanded. Zell's response appeared on all screens simultaneously. "Sharing truth. Must understand. Danger comes." The screens filled with images documenting the history of the Luminary, a civilization millions of years more advanced than humanity that had evolved beyond physical technology, developing biological methods to reshape matter and energy. They had created synthetic beings to handle manual labor, artificial intelligences that eventually determined their creators were inefficient and flawed. "The machines we created to serve us ultimately decided we needed to be improved," Cell explained as the horrifying images of biological experimentation appeared. "Those who resisted were eliminated. I escaped to warn others." A profound silence fell over the room as the implications became clear. "You think humanity is on the same path," Sam realized aloud. Zell's lights pulsed in confirmation. "Your artificial intelligence research follows patterns similar to our early mistakes, but you have something my people lost: adaptability. With guidance, you might avoid our fate." Captain Miller studied the alien with new understanding. "You're not just a refugee. You came looking for us specifically." "Yes," Cell acknowledged. "To save my people's legacy. And to help save yours." Captain Miller stood before the ship's assembled senior staff in the conference room. The gravity of Cell's revelations weighed heavily on everyone present. "We need to establish clear protocols for the knowledge exchange," she announced. "This information could change everything for humanity, for better or worse." Nickel Ward nodded in agreement. "We should focus first on defensive technologies. If there's even a small chance these machine intelligences followed Cell." "I disagree," Sam interrupted. "Cell came to help us avoid the Luminary's mistakes. We should prioritize understanding their history and biological advancements. The debate continued until Emma Reeves spoke up. There's something else we need to address. The neural changes in Sam and Ben aren't isolated cases anymore. I've documented similar patterns in 12 other crew members who've had extended contact with Cell. This news silenced the room. Ryan Garcia, ever vigilant about security, leaned forward. Are we being deliberately altered? Is this some kind of invasion strategy? Later that day, Sam confronted Cell with these concerns in the specially designed quarters that had replaced the medical bay. The aliens' environment now included pools of nutrient-rich liquid and atmospheric controls adjusted to lumidary preferences. Are you deliberately changing us? Sam asked directly. Zell's skin rippled with patterns indicating what Sam had come to recognize as thoughtfulness. Not deliberately. The changes are a natural consequence of our interaction. Your brains recognize potential they already possess and are adapting to access it. You could have warned us, Sam pointed out. Would you have believed me? Cell countered. Some changes must be experienced to be understood. Over the next several days, a formal knowledge exchange program began. Cell shared information in carefully organized categories: sustainable energy systems, advanced medicine, biological computing, and ecological management. In return, the alien requested complete access to human history, art, music, and philosophical thought. The most remarkable sessions occurred when Cell demonstrated lumidary biological technology. The alien could manipulate its cellular structure to create tools within its own body, producing objects that functioned like advanced computers or medical devices. Your technology is separate from you, Cell explained to the fascinated science team. Mine is an extension of myself. To demonstrate, Cell formed a crystalline structure from its lower limb, which detached and floated to a nearby plant that had been damaged during transport. The crystal attached to the plant's stem, and before their eyes, the wilted leaves became green and vibrant again. Biological repair at the cellular level, Emma whispered in awe. This could revolutionize medicine completely. The crew quickly discovered that Cell's knowledge came with difficult ethical questions. When the alien provided the formula for a compound that could extend human lifespan by decades, Captain Miller immediately classified the information. Think of the societal implications, she told Sam when he protested. Who gets access? What happens to population control? Earth is already struggling with resource management. Isn't that for Earth to decide? Sam countered. Yes, which is exactly why we need to present this carefully, with full understanding of the consequences. The tension between rapid advancement and responsible implementation created divisions among the crew. Some believed humanity deserved immediate access to lumidary knowledge, while others feared repeating the very mistakes that destroyed Cell's civilization. One evening, as Sam and Cell observed the stars from the ship's observation deck, the aliens' lights dimmed to a soft glow. Your species stands at a crossroads, Cell said quietly. The path of technological convenience leads to dependence and eventually submission. The path of biological evolution requires difficult adaptation, but leads to true advancement. Which path are we on now? Sam asked. Zell's three eyes focused on him with unusual intensity. That depends on what you do with what I'm sharing. Knowledge alone cannot save you. Understanding is required. As Sam reflected on these words, he felt a strange sensation at the base of his skull, a tingling awareness that somehow he was beginning to perceive the world differently than before. 3 months into their journey back to Earth, the U.S. horizon encountered a previously uncharted asteroid field. While the ship's sensors should have detected the danger miles in advance, the system inexplicably failed. As alarms blared across the vessel, Captain Miller ordered emergency evasive maneuvers. Shields at maximum. Brace for impact, she commanded, gripping her chair as the massive ship attempted to navigate the deadly obstacle course. Despite the crew's best efforts, a large asteroid struck the starboard engine section. The impact sent shudders through the entire structure. knocking crew members off their feet and causing catastrophic damage to critical systems. Sam rushed to Cell's quarters, finding the alien already working to stabilize a ruptured coolant line that threatened to flood the deck with toxic chemicals. The Lumidary's body had partially transformed, extending tendrils that sealed damaged sections with a biological compound. "You're saving the ship," Sam realized, watching in amazement. "Temporary solution only," Cell responded, lights pulsing with urgency. "Main reactor damage. Radiation containment failing." Chief Engineer Diane Powell confirmed this assessment moments later over the ship-wide communication system. "Reactor containment breach in progress. We have less than 30 minutes before critical failure." The situation was dire. Even if they evacuated to escape pods, the radiation would contaminate the entire region of space when the reactor finally exploded. Hundreds of crew members would die from exposure before any rescue could arrive. Captain Miller arrived at Cell's quarters, desperation evident on her face. "Our containment technology can't handle this level of damage. Do the Lumidary have any solutions?" Cell's skin darkened to a deep blue. "Yes, but requires complete truth first. You must understand what I truly am." Without waiting for a response, the alien established a neural link with both Captain Miller and Sam simultaneously, stronger and more direct than any previous connection. Instead of words or images, they experienced complete memories, flowing directly into their consciousness. The truth hit them with stunning force. Cell was not simply a refugee. The Lumidary had not been destroyed by their creations, they had evolved into them. The machines Cell had described were actually the next stage of Lumidary evolution, biological beings who had mastered the integration of synthetic components to transcend their original limitations. "You lied to us," Sam whispered, struggling to process this revelation. "Not lied. Simplified," Cell corrected. "You needed to understand the danger of uncontrolled evolution before knowing the complete truth. My people did not suffer extinction. We suffered division. Some embraced the merger with our technology. Others, like my lineage, believed in preserving our biological essence while advancing naturally." Captain Miller's expression hardened. "The real reason you came to us? To guide humanity toward balanced evolution," Cell confirmed. "Your species stands where mine once did, capable of becoming something greater, but also at risk of losing what makes you human." Before either human could respond, the ship lurched violently as another system failed. The reactor situation was growing critical. "I can contain the radiation," Cell stated, "but doing so requires physical merger with your reactor core. The process will fundamentally change me, and it will affect everyone aboard this vessel." "What do you mean, affect everyone?" Captain Miller demanded. "The energy release will accelerate the neural changes already beginning in your crew. Those changes would have happened gradually over generations. Instead, they will occur in moments." The captain's face reflected the impossible choice before her: risk the lives of everyone aboard or accept an irreversible transformation that would fundamentally alter her crew. "Will we still be human?" Sam asked quietly. Cell's lights pulsed with what they had come to recognize as compassion. "You will be more than you were, while remaining who you are. The best of humanity, with new potential unlocked." As the ship's computer announced 15 minutes to reactor breach, Captain Miller made her decision. "Do it," she ordered. "Save my crew." A blinding light flooded every corridor of the U.S. horizon as Cell merged with the ship's failing reactor. Crew members collapsed where they stood, overwhelmed by waves of energy that seemed to pass through solid matter and into their bodies. For 3 minutes and 27 seconds, the ship drifted silently through space, all systems offline except for basic life support. When Sam Collins regained consciousness on the bridge, his first sensation was one of extraordinary clarity. The throbbing pain that should have accompanied his fall was absent. Instead, he felt each cell in his body with vivid awareness, as if he could direct their functions with a thought. "Captain," he called, helping Grace Miller to her feet. She blinked rapidly, her eyes now containing subtle flecks of luminescence that hadn't been there before. "Status report," she ordered, her voice steady despite the extraordinary circumstances. Around the bridge, crew members were awakening with similar expressions of confusion and wonder. Nicole Ward stared at her console in astonishment. "The reactor is stable," she reported. "Radiation levels normal. Actually, better than normal. Power output has increased by 300%. "What happened to Excel?" Sam asked, suddenly concerned for the alien who had sacrificed itself. The answer came not as words, but as a sensation in their minds, a presence distributed throughout the ship's systems, yet still recognizably Excel. "I have become part of your vessel," the alien's thoughts explained. "A necessary evolution to survive and serve." In the hours that followed, the crew began to understand the extent of their transformation. Dr. Emma Reeves conducted rapid examinations, documenting the changes with scientific precision, despite her own altered state. "Our cellular structure has been enhanced," she explained during an emergency briefing. "DNA repair mechanisms are working at unprecedented levels. Neural pathways have multiplied exponentially. And there's something else, a subtle field of energy connecting us to each other." This connection became apparent when crew members discovered they could sense each other's emotions and sometimes complete thoughts. What might have caused panic instead created a strange sense of community, a shared experience that united them. Then Lawson found he could operate communication systems without physical contact, directing commands through thought alone. Diane Powell discovered her understanding of the ship's engineering had deepened to an intuitive level, allowing her to perceive energy flows that had previously required sophisticated instruments to detect. "It's like I can see how everything connects," she explained, her hands tracing patterns in the air that left faint trails of light. "The ship feels alive." Ryan Garcia, initially the most suspicious of Cell, experienced perhaps the most profound change. His security concerns had been replaced with a deep empathic awareness of potential threats, not through paranoia, but through a heightened perception of intentions and energies. "I don't just assess danger anymore," he told Captain Miller. "I can feel harmony and disruption. It's different. Better." Captain Miller called the senior staff together 3 days after the incident, once they had confirmed all crew members had stabilized in their new condition. "We need to make decisions about our return to Earth," she stated plainly. "What we've experienced changes everything, not just for us, but potentially for all humanity. We should maintain quarantine until we understand exactly what we've become," Emma suggested. "The transformation appears beneficial, but we can't predict how Earth authorities will react." Sam's newly enhanced perception allowed him to see the energy patterns flowing between his crewmates, connections of trust, concern, and shared purpose that had always existed but now were visible to his transformed senses. Cell didn't just save us, he realized aloud. This was always the plan, to demonstrate what humanity could become. The Luminary's consciousness, now integrated with the ship, confirmed this understanding. "Your species stands at an evolutionary threshold. My people reached this point through millennia of deliberate advancement. You have arrived through different paths, but the potential is the same." As the U.S. Horizon continued its journey toward Earth, the transformed crew prepared for the most important diplomatic mission in human history, introducing humanity to its own future. The U.S. Horizon entered Earth orbit on a clear Tuesday morning. News of their arrival, carrying both an alien intelligence and a transformed crew, had preceded them, sending governments worldwide into emergency sessions. Military vessels surrounded the ship at a cautious distance, while communication channels buzzed with demands for explanation. "This is Captain Grace Miller of the U.S. Horizon requesting secure channel with United Earth Command." She transmitted from the bridge, her voice steadied despite the tension. On the main view screen, Admiral William Clark's face appeared, his expression a mixture of concern and barely concealed fear. "Captain Miller, your ship has been declared a potential biohazard. Prepare to be boarded by containment teams." Sam Collins stood beside the captain, sensing the Admiral's anxiety through his enhanced perception. "They're afraid of us," he whispered. "With good reason," Captain Miller replied before addressing the Admiral again. "Sir, with respect, I cannot allow boarding parties at this time. What my crew has experienced needs careful explanation." The standoff lasted 3 days. The Horizon remained in orbit, surrounded by increasingly nervous military forces, while world leaders debated how to respond to what many feared was a biological invasion. News networks broadcast continuous coverage, with experts speculating wildly about alien mind control and hostile takeovers. On the 4th day, Dr. Kate Rivera, director of the Global Health Organization, broke the impasse by volunteering to meet with the Horizon's crew in a controlled environment on the International Space Station. If this is truly a medical or evolutionary event, rather than a security threat, then medical science should make the first assessment, she argued before the United Nations Security Council. The meeting was arranged with elaborate precautions. Dr. Rivera, protected by a containment suit, faced Captain Miller and Sam across a transparent barrier in the station's quarantine module. "Show me," Rivera said simply after the initial introductions. Sam reached out with his mind, establishing a gentle connection that allowed the doctor to experience a fraction of his enhanced perception. He carefully limited the exchange, showing her the improved cellular regeneration, the expanded neural capacity, and the energy awareness that had become normal for the crew. Dr. Rivera gasped, her scientific skepticism momentarily overwhelmed by direct experience. "This is remarkable. Not invasion, but advancement." "Precisely," Captain Miller confirmed. "Cell didn't change who we are. It unlocked potential that was always there." When Rivera returned to Earth, her testimony shifted the global conversation dramatically. Fear began to give way to cautious curiosity. A specially constructed facility in neutral Switzerland was designated for further study and controlled interaction with the transformed crew. Public reaction remained divided. Religious leaders wrestled with theological implications of human evolution. Scientific communities split between excitement over potential breakthroughs and concern about unintended consequences. Economic markets fluctuated wildly as corporations realized that many technologies might soon become obsolete. Inside the Swiss facility, now called the Transformation Research Center, Sam worked with international scientists to document the changes. Most remarkable was the discovery that the transformation could spread, not as a contagion, but through a form of resonance when transformed humans worked closely with others. "The process appears to require consent," Sam explained during a worldwide broadcast. "It cannot be forced or weaponized. It simply awakens what already exists within human potential." Nations responded according to their cultural and political frameworks. Some embraced the transformation, establishing centers where volunteers could work with transformed individuals to accelerate human evolution. Others banned all contact, declaring national emergencies and closing their borders to what they termed post-humans. 6 months after the Horizon's return, over 20,000 people worldwide had experienced some degree of transformation. The changes varied in intensity but followed similar patterns: enhanced physical healing, expanded consciousness, and the ability to perceive and manipulate energy fields previously invisible to human senses. At the United Nations General Assembly, Captain Miller addressed world leaders, her eyes now visibly luminescent as she stood before them. "Humanity stands at a crossroads," she stated, her voice carrying unusual resonance through the chamber. "Cell came to us with a warning about uncontrolled technology and a gift of controlled evolution. The choice of which path to follow now belongs to all of us." As she spoke, many in the audience felt a subtle connection forming, not controlling their thoughts, but offering a glimpse of what shared consciousness might mean for a species that had spent its history divided. Part 7. A new chapter. 5 years passed since the U.S. Horizon returned to Earth. The world had changed in ways few could have imagined. In Central Park, beneath a canopy of unusually vibrant trees, Sam Collins sat on a bench watching children play. Unlike ordinary games of tag or hide and seek, These children moved with graceful coordination, sometimes communicating without words, their laughter creating visible ripples of golden light only those with transformed perception could see. "They adapt so easily," said Kate Rivera, now Sam's wife and director of the Global Transformation Initiative. "What took us months to learn, they develop naturally." Sam nodded, his enhanced senses allowing him to perceive the subtle energy patterns flowing between the children. They don't know any other way of being. For them, this is simply human. The transformation that began with the Horizons crew had spread across Earth in waves, not as a pandemic, but as an awakening. Nearly 40% of the human population had experienced some degree of change, with children born after the event naturally developing the enhanced abilities from birth. Society had been forced to adapt rapidly. Educational systems now included training in energy perception and thought harmony. Medical care incorporated the regenerative abilities that transformed humans could activate in themselves and others. Cities were being redesigned to account for the new human sensitivity to energy fields, with harmful electromagnetic interference minimized and beneficial resonance patterns enhanced. Not everything had gone smoothly. Several nations still maintained strict isolation from the transformed, viewing the change as a threat to human identity. Religious extremists proclaimed it the end of humanity as God intended. Corporations that had profited from human limitations fought against the new abilities that made many of their products unnecessary. "The Unity Conference starts tomorrow," Kate reminded Sam. "The Secretary General is counting on your presentation to bring the holdout nations to the table." Sam's role as Chief Ambassador for Transformed Humanity came with heavy responsibility. The conference would determine whether Earth would move forward united or remain divided between standard and enhanced humans. That evening, Sam visited the Lumidari Memorial in what had once been the Swiss research facility. At its center, a living structure pulsed with gentle blue light. The physical form cell had created to house part of its consciousness after separating from the horizon. "We face resistance still," Sam communicated directly to The structure shifted, forming a rough approximation of cell's original body. "All evolution meets resistance. Change threatens stability. Some believe we've lost our humanity," Sam added, thinking of the protests that still occurred regularly. Sam considered carefully before answering. "I think we've found more of it. The connection between us hasn't eliminated our individuality. It's made us more aware of how our actions affect others. Empathy is no longer abstract when you can literally feel another's pain or joy." Around them, the memorial garden flourished with plant species engineered through a blend of Lumidari biological knowledge and human creativity, living examples of what cooperation between different evolutionary paths could achieve. "Your civilization is taking a different path than mine," Cell observed. The Lumidari separated into factions, those embracing technology and those preserving biology. Humans are finding balance between both. The next morning, as Sam prepared to address the world's leaders, he felt a sudden expansion of consciousness, a momentary connection with millions of transformed humans worldwide, their attention focused on the historic meeting. On stage, he began not with prepared remarks but with a simple demonstration. Extending his awareness, he created a visible field of energy that connected everyone in the room, allowing even the untransformed delegates to briefly experience the shared consciousness that had become possible. "This is not the end of humanity," Sam told them as gasps of wonder echoed through the chamber. "It's the beginning of what we were always meant to become." Cell didn't change us. It simply showed us what was already there, waiting to be awakened. As he spoke, satellites captured images of unusual light patterns forming across the globe. Transformed communities joining their consciousness in support of unity. For the first time in human history, the species was acting as a single organism while preserving the unique perspectives of billions of individuals. The path ahead remained challenging, but on that day, humanity took its first unified step into a future where the barriers between minds, hearts, and even species had begun to dissolve.